Hello everyone, welcome to MBBS classes. Myself Dr. Hanifa. Today in this video I'll be talking on anatomy of cavernous sinus. Cavernous sinus, it is one of the intracranial dural venous sinuses and it is the paired large venous sinus which is situated on either side of the body of sphenoid and the sella turcica in the middle cranial fossa. So let's see why this sinus is called as cavernous sinus. It derives its name from the multiple small spaces called caverns. So here you can see this is an example of a cavern, which means a deep cave. And in the cavern we get stalactites, and these stalactites, they divide the cavern into multiple parts. Similarly, this cavernous sinus is characterized by the presence of trabecula, and these trabecula, they divide the interior of the cavernous sinus into multiple small spaces called caverns. So if we see here, this is a location of the cavernous sinus. If you can see here, the red color is the area of the pituitary glands, and these cavernous sinuses, these are the paired intradural venous sinuses which are present against the lateral aspect of the body of sphenoid bone. So if you remember the anatomy of the floor of the cranial cavity, if you remember, this is the greater wing of sphenoid, this is the lesser wing of sphenoid, this is the body of sphenoid, this is a petrous bone, this is occipital bone. So the location of the cavernous sinus is by the side of the body of the sphenoid bones on either side of the sella turcica. Here in this figure, we can see the different other sinuses. So cavernous sinus is one of the paired intracranial dural venous sinuses. The other intracranial dural venous sinuses are superior petrosal sinus. If you see here, this is the superior petrosal sinus. The next is the inferior petrosal sinus, transverse sinus, sigmoid sinus, sphenoparietal sinus, and the petrosquamous sinus. Among the unpaired dural venous sinuses are the superior sagittal sinus, and the other interdural venous sinuses cannot be seen in the figure. And as you can see here, this cavernous sinus is interlinked with the other intracranial dural venous sinuses. That is why it is of prime clinical importance. We'll see later. So you must know about the features of the dural venous sinuses. These dural venous sinuses, they are endothelial lined spaces between the two layers of the dura mater. There are two layers, meningeal layer and the endosteal layer. These sinuses, they don't have any muscles in their wall. Secondly, they are lined only by the endothelium. They are devoid of valves and they drain ultimately into the internal jugular vein. So if you have seen the previous diagram, these sinuses are interlinked with each other and with the extracranial structures also. So because they are valveless and because they are interconnected, so infection from the one sinus can easily spread to the other sinuses. It is one of the structure of prime clinical importance. The reason is it receives blood from the multiple areas, both intracranial and extracranial. Intracranial, it receives from the cerebral veins, and the extracranials from the orbit and the emissary vein. So if you see in this picture, this is an cavernous sinus, and if you see here, this is the orbit and this is the ophthalmic vein. This is the superior ophthalmic vein, this is the inferior ophthalmic vein. These are coming out, passing through the superior orbital fissure. This is the superior orbital fissure. Then again, if you see here, these are the two sinuses, superior petrosal, inferior petrosal. They communicate with the sigmoid sinus and they ultimately drain into the internal jugular vein. The cavernous sinus is communicating with the pterygoid plexus, which is located in the infratemporal fossa through the emissary veins. Then these ophthalmic veins, if you see here, they are communicating with the angular and the facial veins. So the cavernous sinus is connected with both the extracranials and the intracranial structures, and these connections, they provide the possible pathway for the spread of infection from the extracranial, that is the eye and the nose, to the intracranial location. This is a coronal section showing the cavernous sinus which is situated on either side of the pituitary. So this is the pituitary glands and this bluish colored is the cavernous sinus. So as you can see here, this is the sphenoid sinus, and the cavernous sinus is situated on either side of the body of the sphenoid, as you can see here. So the floor of the cavernous sinus is formed by the endosteal layer of the dura mater, that is, which is in relation to the bone, whereas the lateral wall, roof, and the medial wall is lined by the meningeal layer of the dura mater. Now, if we see the extent, it extends from the, so anteriorly from the superior orbital fissure and posteriorly up to the petrous apex. So if you see, this is the petrous part of the temporal bone, and this is the area of the apex of the petrous bone. And if you see here, this shelf is the portion of the lesser wing of sphenoid, and this is the greater wing of sphenoid. And here lies the superior orbital fissure. So the cavernous sinus is extending from the superior orbital fissure to the petrous apex, and the dimension is 2 centimeter by 1 centimeter. 2 centimeter in length and 1 centimeter in breadth. Now if we see the relations of the cavernous sinus, then again this is a coronal section. Here this is a magnified picture of the area showing the relation of the area of the cavernous sinus. So if you see here, this is the body of the sphenoid, and this is the area of the cavernous sinus. This is the lesser wing of sphenoid bone, and this red color area is the area of superior orbital fissure. Through the superior orbital fissure passes the superior ophthalmic vein and the inferior ophthalmic vein. This is the optic canal. This is the yellow color is the optic nerve. So let me tell you about the relations. Superiorly, it is related to the optic chiasma, optic tract, and the internal carotid artery. Then inferior, this is the area of the cavernous sinus. Inferiorly lies the foramen lacerum and the junction of the body and the greater wing of the sphenoid. So this is the greater wing of the sphenoid, and this is the body. So inferiorly lies the junction. Then medially definitely lies the pituitary gland and the sphenoid ear sinus. Laterally lies the temporal, because the location of the cavernous sinus is in the middle cranial fossa, and laterally also lies the cavum trigeminal. Anteriorly is the superior orbital fissure, apex of the orbit, and posteriorly lies the crus cerebri of midbrain and the petrous apex, because petrous apex forms the posterior boundary of the cavernous sinus. Cavernous sinus is related to multiple cranial nerves. So if we see the lateral wall of the cavernous sinus, let us see what are the structures which passes through the lateral wall of the sinus. It is the oculomotor nerve, that is the third cranial nerve, trochlear nerve, fourth cranial nerve, ophthalmic nerve is the first division of the trigeminal nerve, then passes through is the maxillary nerve, which is the second division of the trigeminal nerve. So these are the structures which passes through the lateral wall of the sinus. And the structures which passes through the cavernous sinus are the internal carotid artery with the surrounding of sympathetic nerve plexus and the abducens nerve. So these are the two cavernous sinuses, and they are interlinked with each other by anterior intercavernous sinus and posterior intercavernous sinus. This anterior intercavernous sinus passes anterior to the pituitary gland. The posterior intercavernous sinus, it passes posterior to the pituitary stalk. Now let us see the tributaries of the cavernous sinus. The cavernous sinus, it receives blood from the three sources. First is the orbit, next is meninges, and third is the brain. So if you see here, from the orbit, it receives the blood from the ophthalmic veins, that is the superior and the inferior ophthalmic veins, and the central vein of retina. And these ophthalmic veins, they passes through the superior orbital fissure. This is the location of the superior orbital fissure. The superior orbital fissure, it is a foramen in the greater wing of sphenoid. So this is the lesser wing of sphenoid, this is a shelf of bone, and this is the greater wing of sphenoid. This is the location for the superior orbital fissure. The superior orbital fissure is hidden underneath the overhanging shelf of the lesser wing of sphenoid. From the meninges, it gets its blood from the spinoparietal sinus. If you see here, this spinoparietal sinus, these are again the paired dural venous sinuses, and they are located along the inferior surface of the lesser wing of sphenoid bone, and it drains into the anterior part of the cavernous sinus. If you see here, these ophthalmic veins, these sphenoparietal veins, they are draining in the anterior part of the cavernous sinus. From the meninges, again, there is another vein which drains the blood, is the anterior trunk of the middle meningeal vein, and from the brain is from the superficial middle cerebral vein and the inferior cerebral vein. Now let us see a wide view of the superior orbital fissure through which the ophthalmic vein passes through. So if you see here, superior orbital fissure is located between the body, lesser wing and the greater wing of the sphenoid bone. And this is the area of the optic canal which contains the optic nerve and the ophthalmic artery. The superior orbital fissure can be divided into three parts by the common tendinous ring of Zinn. And if you see here, the superior ophthalmic vein, it passes superior to the optic nerve. The inferior ophthalmic vein, it passes inferior to the optic nerve. And these veins, they passes through the fissure and they drain into the cavernous sinus. Here is the location of the cavernous sinus. Then again, if we see the communication of the ophthalmic vein with the extracranial vein, you can notice here the superior ophthalmic vein, it is communicating anteriorly with the supraorbital vein. This is the supraorbital vein and this is the angular vein. So the superior orbital vein, it communicates anteriorly with the supraorbital vein and the angular vein, which then continues as the facial vein. Then if we see, this is the inferior ophthalmic vein, it communicates with the pterygoid plexus. This is the pterygoid plexus by small veins which passes through the inferior orbital fissure. So as this ophthalmic veins, they communicate with the extracranial sites and they communicate with the cavernous sinuses also, then these ophthalmic veins, they are a possible route of spread for the infection from outside to the intercranial site. So in the previous slide, we have seen the tributaries of the cavernous sinus. Now this cavernous sinus, it communicates with the other sinuses. So the other sinuses with which it communicates is the transverse sinus, internal jugular vein and the pterygoid venous plexus. We'll see how it communicates. It communicates with the transverse sinus by the superior petrosal sinus. Now I will show you the area of the superior petrosal sinus. If this is the petrous bone and this is the superior margin. So the superior petrosal sinus is located at the superior margin of the petrous part of the temporal bone. Cavernous sinus, it communicates with the internal jugular vein via the inferior petrosal sinus. And the inferior petrosal sinus, it is located in a groove between the petrous part of the temporal bone and the occipital bone. So this is the occipital bone, and in this groove, the inferior petrosal sinus, it lies and ultimately drains into the internal jugular vein. Then for anatomical importance in relation to the cavernous sinus is the foramen ovale. If you see here, these are the two foramen ovales which is located just in front of the foramen spinosum. This is the foramen spinosum. This is the foramen ovale. Then posteromedial to the foramen ovale lies the foramen lacerum here. And this foramen lacerum, you can say it lies in a gap between the petrous temporal bone and the sphenoid bone. So if we see here again in the interconnections or the communications of the cavernous sinus, we can see here the cavernous sinus, it communicates with this is the transverse sinus. If you see here, this is the transverse sinus. This cavernous sinus, it communicates with the transverse sinus via the superior petrosal vein. These are the superior petrosal vein on both the sides. Then this cavernous sinus, it communicates with the internal jugular vein by the inferior petrosal sinus. So this is the inferior petrosal sinus on both the sides. It communicates with the opposite cavernous sinus by anterior intercavernous sinus and by the posterior intercavernous sinus. You can see here. Then again, it communicates with another central intradural venous sinus, that is the superior sagittal sinus. So this is the location of the superior sagittal sinus via the superficial middle cerebral vein and the superior anastomotic veins. And it communicates with the pterygoid plexus through the foramens which passes through the foramen ovale, foramen lacerum and the emissary sphenoidal foramen. And it communicates with the internal vertebral venous plexus via the basilar venous plexus. So this is the plexus, basilar venous plexus, and through this it communicates with the internal vertebral venous plexus. So to revise the communications of the cavernous sinus, now let us see the tributaries from the orbit, superior and the inferior ophthalmic vein and the central vein of retina. Then from the meninges, the spinoparietal sinus. Then these cavernous sinus, they are located on either side of the body of the sphenoid, lateral to the pituitary, and they are interconnected by the anterior and the posterior intercavernous sinus. Then they communicate with the transverse sinus via the superior petrosal sinus. The posterior end of the cavernous sinus is related to the inferior petrosal sinus, which ultimately drains into the internal jugular vein. The cavernous sinus communicates with the superior sagittal sinus via the superficial middle cerebral vein and the superior anastomotic veins. It communicates via basilar venous plexus, as you can see here, with internal vertebral venous plexus. So we know that the cavernous sinus, it is not only interconnected with the intracranial veins but also with the extracranial veins. So it is connected with the facial veins and there are two routes. First is you can see here via the superior ophthalmic vein. So this is the superior ophthalmic vein. The superior ophthalmic vein, then it drains into the angular vein. So if you see here, this is the angular vein and which continues as the facial vein. So in the way it also communicates with the supratrochlear and the supraorbital vein. Next is the facial vein. It communicates with the cavernous sinus via the pterygoid plexus of veins which is located in the infratemporal fossa. So since we have seen that the cavernous sinus is interlinked with the multiple intracranial and the extracranial veins, so it is very much prone to develop cavernous sinus thrombosis. Since these veins are valveless veins lined only with the endothelium which lack muscular coat, what happens if there is any infection of any of the communicating sinuses or the veins, then it can lead to the clinical manifestations. So extracranial sources are, one first is from the danger area of the face. So the lower part of the nose is called the danger area of the face. So if you can see here in this figure, this patient had nasal vestibulitis, and following the nasal vestibulitis, the patient developed cavernous sinus thrombosis. And you can see here bilateral proptosis, bilateral chemosis of the conjunctiva. I will not go into the details of the cavernous sinus thrombosis, we'll take in a separate class. Then is the cavernous sinus syndrome. It is seen that the cavernous sinus may be involved by multiple tumors, thrombosis, carotid aneurysms, and infections. And since we have seen the cavernous sinus is related to third, fourth, fifth, sixth cranial nerve, so there is a variable pattern of cranial nerve palsy which is seen in different cases. So with this, I come to an end of this video. Thank you for watching this video.